Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank independent reporters who have put themselves at risk to report the truth during this pandemic. Rebel News, Avi Yemini.
I think it's very, very strange that our own government is fighting us in court still for us to have access to our politicians, and yet we are being, I guess, championed in the Australian Parliament.
Dr. Cumming.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank independent reporters who have put themselves at risk to report the truth during this pandemic. Rebel News, Avi Yemini, Reunite Democracy, Monica Smith, Morgan Joannis, Varil Ruskin, Matthew Wong, to name a few. Independent reporters should be treated with respect. To watch them being harassed, intimidated, and not to be treated equally as mainstream media is wrong. We need to thank independent reporters who step out of their comfort zones, who put themselves at risk to make sure that the community understands and can actually see firsthand at what's going on within this state, across Australia and across the world. We should all thank independent reporters of all descriptions to be able to straight and be able to talk the truth, because that's what we need during a time of pandemic. We don't need things watered down. We don't need to be treated like children with just snapshots and just bite-sized chunks of the actual truth and reports. I thank all independent reporters who are out there. I miss the independent newspapers that we had in our community, who used to be able to, in print form, feel that they could actually report with no fear.
Thank you.
Cumming, what a champion she is. And all I can think of, Sheila, is here is this lady in the Australian Parliament lauding Rebel News as well as some other independent news outlets. And I just go back to a little over a year ago when Andrew Scheer sicked the RCMP and then the Durham Regional Police on me, who were, by the way, kudos to the Durham Regional Police. They were shocked by the RCMP bringing me there, just for having the temerity to show up to a press conference to tell our audience of over 1.3 million YouTube subscribers, that many of whom are red meat conservatives, that this guy is a better bet for Prime Minister. What a loser Mr. Scheer was, and what a champion Miss Cumming is.
It is astounding, actually, that Andrew Scheer somehow managed to kneecap himself instead of making himself the champion of free speech and free expression and the free press. He had a real opportunity there, especially when we are fighting Justin Trudeau in court to get access to the debate. At the very same time, he comes out as the guy who has a reporter arrested. For just trying to be where the other reporters are, just asking questions. And you know, we never expect to get a question in. We just want to be there with the opportunity to be able to ask a question. We don't need, you know, to be guaranteed anything. And isn't it fascinating how quickly Avi has changed the media landscape basically by himself? Well, with the support of our team, because our team, our back office team, all the people that you don't see working out in front of the camera, they're a real support net for Avi. But how quickly Avi has been able to change the media landscape and affect freedom for Australians so that he's acknowledged in the Australian Parliament. That's on Avi and that's on our team. And that's really quite incredible. And yet we are treated as though we are pariahs here in Canada by the mainstream media, the Liberals, and to some extent, the official conservative types. Shame on all of them.
And Sheila, I love Avi's videos, and I feel like I'm learning a lot about Australia watching them, including, and I still think about this, it might have been his first video, or at least one of his first videos, where he's going to a protest, and he had to show the officer at a roadblock his media permission form, his papers, his permit in order to practice journalism, which of course in North America is a completely alien concept, but that's what they make him do in Australia, and Avi goes through the hoops. But of course in that day, even though he had his papers and his permits and everything in order, he was still gang tackled to the ground and arrested for I don't know what for.
It's, I see that and I'm so proud of Avi, and I'm so proud of the work that we've all done to support Avi. And I don't want to like toot my own horn or because really this is a victory for Avi and the team that supports him in the back office. But it also goes to show how thirsty they were in Australia for just the other side of the story, for someone to come in and tell the other side of the story, to not just tell the story of the tyrannical actions of these local governments who are cracking down on freedom, but to go one step further and to fight, to do that journalism plus activism work that we've made, our brand here in Canada. In Australia, they were so void of that, Avi's being acknowledged in the Australian Parliament. It also goes to show just how effective Justin Trudeau's funding of the media party is here in Canada, because I think even if a politician in Canada felt that way about us, that Ms. Cumming did, and I know there are some, I hear from them, I know there are some, they would never be able to say it because they would be absolutely destroyed by the media party in Canada. They just couldn't do it.
Oh, and and to that point, with Andrew Scheer trying to get cuddly with the mean girls of the media party. How did that work out for him in the end, Sheila? They looked for any pseudo scandal to crucify this guy. Really minor league stuff like when he was selling insurance, was he really a registered broker? I mean, and this was in the same year as blackface Justin Trudeau.
I know.
They just don't learn. And hopefully Aaron O'Toole isn't going to follow the Scheer path when it comes to rebel derangement syndrome, because he'll just be shooting himself in the foot too.
Isn't that the truth?
That's an excerpt from my daily TV show that I do live at 12 noon Eastern time. We talk about the news of the day, we play interesting viral videos, and most importantly, I take your questions that you chat to me through YouTube Super Chat. I think that's the funnest part of it. So tune in every weekday at 12 noon Eastern time, only here at rebelnews.com.